want to welcome you to the South Central area, a webinar, Zoom, whatever we're calling it. We've got Miss Mary Valloni. Let me just tell you this. First of all, Mary is a great friend of Chi Alpha. She's been working with National Chi Alpha for probably 4 or 5 years. 5, look at me. And but beyond that, Mary is an incredible individual, faithful-filled woman, has a talent and has a gift that she has been blessing National Chi Alpha with. And when I asked her about sharing with you guys here today, she did it without hesitation. Absolutely. She's an author. Her book has won awards. She's a top 10 podcaster. I don't know if that's the actual term, but you have a podcast that's in the top 10, so this is all good. But all in the area of helping people raise funds. And man, I'm so excited. So Mary, welcome. Good to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Hey, thanks, Eric. Yeah, I'm a huge Eric Truel fan. So if Eric says he wants me somewhere, I will show up. I have a feeling that you all do the same. So we all found ourselves in the same boat today. So, but man, what a great crowd. There's like 96 of you here live.
Yeah, they keep coming. I got to keep clicking.
I know. I hope that it doesn't kick people out after 100. So.
Oh, no. We're good. We're good.
Oh, you're special. You got the
I have a special dispensation.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you for the introduction. And I love missionaries. I have like a major heart for that. I met Jesus in college. So I, obviously believe in the mission and the work that Chi Alpha is doing. So such an honor and so many familiar faces. I know I've met many of you guys over the years. So maybe at RUI or maybe at CMC or one of those events, World Mission Summit. So yeah, great to be with you.
So Mary, how did you get connected with Chi Alpha in the first place? And then I'm going to turn you loose to really start talking in just a minute.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the problem of going to church and telling a Chi Alpha missionary that you're a fundraiser. So I lived in Springfield for 15 years, went to college at Missouri State, and was going to church at one of the AG churches there. And one of the girls, I don't know if you guys know Christine Carlson, but she works under Andy Estrella at Missouri State. And she caught wind that I was a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society. And she said, hey, would you mind going to lunch with me and just, sharing a little bit of information about how I could improve my fundraising? And in good Chi Alpha fashion and missionary fashion, she turned it on me, and then I became a supporter. So I picked her up and started helping and just with what they were doing in Missouri State. And then when I decided that I was going to start my own business, I was tasked by my business coach. He said, reach out to 3 people who are working in an industry that you want to work in. So I called Christine back up and I said, hey, Christine, tell me about support raising. Tell me how you learn how to support raise. And the next thing I knew, I was talking to E. Scott Martin and Curtis Cole and the whole team. And then I was helping with national efforts. So it spiraled very quickly. But I love Chi Alpha and just have really enjoyed my time there. So as of December, I did step down as in the position that I was in. And today I specifically work with training missionaries and ministry leaders, nonprofit directors on how to raise money. So yeah.
Well, hey, so Mary, let's just go ahead and jump on in, all right?
Yeah.
So our big issue today, of course, our world has changed. The need for money is still there, but our world has changed, right?
Yeah.
And so, here we are, as far as missionaries, man, what do we do during this time? And so, of course, how to raise funds during a pandemic. I mean, of course, you remember the previous pandemic that we had. I mean, I lived through it, 1918. And, the beauty is we didn't have much information, just people were dying. We had no clue why, but, and we just lived through it. We made it through, right? This one, we know way too much. But anyway, so Mary, let's start from there. Should this scare us when we start talking about fundraising, all that kind of stuff?
Well, okay. When you said we've been through a pandemic, I was like, what?
What?
Well, we kind of have, but the one that we have been through that I remember very clearly is the recession of 2008, 2009. And so the Great Recession is one that most of us, think about as far as the economy and how things have changed. And, how, especially in the world of fundraising, that was something that we always talked about. So that was actually in 2007, I was hired to work for the American Cancer Society. And I put on the single largest fundraiser in the city of Springfield in the middle of a recession. We net $500,000 in new money during a Great Recession. And the thing is that most people were freaking out, doing what most people are doing right now, is that they're like, oh shoot, I'm going to lose money. So you immediately go to the glasses half empty instead of half full. And I'm going to be the counter to all of that nasty, crazy talk is that, there's so much opportunity right now. And I don't know if people who have money right now, the people who have money are doing really well. Like they are the ones that are putting more money into their businesses. I'm going down the street here in St. Louis and I'm like, people are renovating their businesses. They're, using this time to increase their business. So the ones that are actually paying attention are looking at the opportunities that are out there right now. So all I got to say is that I'm like, this is a great time. This is a really great season. And people I can't imagine how many conversations that you guys have had with people that you haven't had in a long time. Like you've reached out to people that you haven't talked to, or people who've reached out to you where you're like, oh shoot, I haven't heard from them in forever, And so that's where I just want you to be paying attention that the main deal with fundraising is relationships, right? So if building relationships is the challenge, like this is the right time. Like we're doing, this is okay, so, and I'd be happy. Like, I know Eric, when you and I had talked, and I had shared prior to this, I gave 3 main things that I would do during this season. Do you want me to go ahead and
Sure.
share
Oh no, that'd be great.
what those 3 things are? Okay. So 3 things I was like, just basically pulling back the curtain as far as like, okay, if I were a Chi Alphan who is raising support right now, what would I be doing during this pandemic? Okay. So number 1, I'm going to be connecting with people. I just said that, building relationships, connecting with people. But what I'm going to do is I want to create like a concerted effort. Look, there's now 105 people here. Eric did exactly what needs to be done. Look, he gathered all of you together and in one space to talk about one topic, and people want that, so like if you can bring a group of people together and talk about a topic like that, people are like, oh, you thought about me, you called me, you wanted me to come. So I don't know how many of you guys have access to this program, but this is $15 less than that if you buy for a year, so it's not like this is an expensive way to gather people. So connecting people with, and this is what I've done with some of the other groups that I've been a part of, is that I've encouraged them to do prayer Zoom calls. So it's like, we're going to gather for prayer and we're going to talk about this, and so we're just going to bring people together on that. But you may very well want to connect people because you're trying to raise support. That's a great reason to gather people together, So if I'm looking at people who are, watching their social media, watching what they're doing, and I'm seeing like, hey, they're doing okay. Like they're not freaking out. They're not posting stuff about how the sky is falling. Maybe this is somebody that I could jump on a call with and just reach out to them and have a conversation. So the first thing is you've got alumni, you've got friends, you've got all these people that maybe you've had on your list that you wanted to connect with, but haven't really had a reason to. So this is a great reason to now gather them together. So last week, I actually did a similar call like this with West Coast Chi Alpha. And the best, like I've already gotten some crazy testimonials from this second thing that I'm going to share with you. Okay. So the first thing is like, oh yeah, build relationships. Yeah. Okay. So, but the second thing that I think that you all should be doing is asking for advice. Okay. So I know it's easy. Like the way that you have been trained in the past is to ask for money. Okay. I'm going to flip this totally on its head for you guys. Like if you ask for money, okay, think about this. If you ask for money, you'll get advice. if you ask for advice, you'll get money. Huh. But whenever you ask somebody for their opinion, like they're like, oh, you care about my opinion? Yeah. And so then they give you their opinion and their advice on what should you be doing right now. So and then it turns around that they like, okay, well, here's an idea. Here's what I think you should do. So actually, somebody had messaged me from West Coast Chi Alpha yesterday and said they did this. They reached out to somebody, asked them for their advice, and they came back with this brilliant idea about how they could get their message out through video. And the person said, and I'll pay for it. So it was like, if I'm going to give you an idea, right? If like anybody, you're going to give somebody an idea, you want to make sure that that idea is successful. And I know like if my idea is going to cost you money, like I'm going to do whatever it takes to fund that. So maybe there's some ideas that, and most of the stuff that I think people are going to give you advice on, it's not going to be expensive. It's not going to cost you. It's more going to be like, how should I have these conversations? What things should we talk about? What would you do if you were in my shoes? So this is where, if you look at your donor base right now, like Eric, for instance, like if you were to look through your donor list and you start looking through the people who are like, okay, this person's in marketing, this person's in sales, this person is the vice president of whatever, like I know not everybody has that level of a donor on their list, but if you start to really brainstorm people who are like, well, I got a brother-in-law, or I got a cousin who's in, marketing, and they're having to rebrand all their stuff, and they're doing that, like they're going to be in the middle of this pandemic. They're going to have all sorts of advice for you because they eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, so that's what I just want to like stir in you, like think through all the different people that you have connections to. Don't call up somebody who just lost their job and is freaking out. Like you don't want their advice. Like that is the last person I want to talk to right now, because what's going to happen is you're going to sit there praying for them, encouraging them, helping them through the process. And what I'm talking about here is, how can somebody help you? Okay. So ask for advice. Don't ask for money. And everybody's so afraid of that right now. They're like, oh, I don't want to call on somebody and ask them for money. Yeah, you shouldn't. Like, I mean, like, but you shouldn't do that anyways. Okay. Like that is actually not a great way to fundraise in the first place. So if my number one intention of calling somebody is to get in their wallet, they are going to smell you out and they are not going to want to have the conversation. So when you have people who dodge your conversations or dodge your meetings, it's because they can smell you. They know that you want their wallet, their money, and nobody wants that. And
that got personal real quick.
it got personal.
Oh my goodness.
Smell you.
Keep going, Mary. You're killing it.
No, but I do think that like I have gotten so many messages for, just from people who are genuine and they're following their training, and they'll send me a message and it feels like they're selling Tupperware. And I'm like, you're selling Jesus. You're selling college ministry. Like I met Jesus in college ministry. Like I want to hear what you have to say, but I don't want to buy Tupperware. Like I don't want to buy what you're selling, and I think that that's the thing with support raising is that, when it is uncomfortable, if you ever feel some sense of like, this is uncomfortable, I'm putting myself in a really awkward position. Yeah. Like you are about to put yourself in an awkward position. If it's uncomfortable, like it feels really bad, it probably is. So that's where, when you have a different mindset, you shift it over to like, I really do want to have a conversation with this person. Like I really do care about their life. And if they did give to me, like that would be awesome, but I'm not calling because I want to get paid. Like I'm calling because I'm like, God placed you on my heart. And of course I'm not going to end the conversation without saying, hey, I'm not sure where you're at, but we're raising support, and it's, we'd love for you to be a part of it. Can I send you some more information? Like it's great to end your conversation, but it's the same thing. Like I want to like just encourage you guys as you're doing your support raising, especially during this season, but all season, any season, is that like, think about your relationship with a student or a student leader, and think about how sometimes you feel like you should like lean into the conversation and ask about like, man, do you have a relationship with Jesus? Like, do you know him? Like, and sometimes you're like, I just met you and now I'm like asking you about Jesus. Like, this is awkward, but somewhere in your spirit, you feel God prompting you to ask the question. And that's how people's lives are transformed and changed, is because you stepped out and had these hard conversations with people. So I want to use that same example, because when you're having a conversation about money and finances, sometimes you're like, ooh, this does not feel good. And God's prompting you to like, this is not the time. This is not the time for you to ask for them to give to your support. And so I want you to use that same gift that you all have to be like, you know what? I think they're in a good place. Like, I, based on our conversation, I think they're good. Maybe they would be interested in giving. So that's when you throw in that, instead of like, can you give $100 a month by this date at this time? Like, instead it's like, hey, I'm not sure if you knew, but all of the reason why I'm on campus is because people like you support the work that I do. And I don't know if you know about giving monthly, but that's typically what people do, is they give monthly. And I'd love to get you some more information. I'd love for you to consider it, So it's not like this hard sell, I need cash in the bank tomorrow. If you don't give right now, I can't eat tomorrow. Doesn't feel good. Like, it's not good. I sometimes, like just the dating relationship, you guys, spend a lot of time with college kids and the love bug, and so like when you're dating somebody, like, you don't want to move too fast, but you also don't want to move too slow. So, but you have to just go with your gut on, okay, like this is somebody who's leaning in, they're genuinely interested in the conversation that we're having and they want to hear more. So let's get them plugged in. So that was number 2. And then the third thing is just communicate. Like, you have to communicate with people. Right now, people don't know what's going on in college ministry. They don't know what's going on with you. Are you still working? Are you still meeting with students? How are things happening? So, and this is where I'm going to like actually push you guys a little bit further than maybe what you've done in the past, is that, maybe you only communicated quarterly. Maybe like use the chat box. I'm just really curious. Like, how frequently are you communicating with your donor base? And whether that's a newsletter or through an email, any sort of like, like this is consistent, like not randomly sending them something, but consistent communication to them. How frequently are you guys doing it? Quarterly, monthly, every other month? Alicia, weekly with a core few, monthly with large population. Okay. Quarterly or 3 times a year. Okay. So all this to be said is that think about a friend. Okay. Think about a friend, somebody that you actually like, that you enjoy spending time with. How frequently do you communicate with them? I mean, how frequently? Every other day, at least once a week? Like, when are you calling your mom? Like, or, a sibling, maybe the people that you disciple, so curious. Go ahead. Yeah. Use the chat box for this. How frequently are you communicating with them? Daily in some fashion? Yeah. So like, that's where I just have to like, yeah, challenge you. Okay, here we go. Once a week, at least once a week, weekly, weekly, weekly. Okay. There's your answer. Okay. How frequently should you be communicating with your donor base? Weekly. And I know that that's like totally pushing you way far outside of this. Okay. So this is where I want to give you like some serious like action, because, okay, think about your friend, think about how you communicate with them. Do you send them a formal newsletter with pictures and graphics and pages of content weekly? No. Like, they would be like, sweetheart, you don't have to send me, like, we don't process information like that. Okay. So that's where, when you're talking to a donor or talking to, it's like ongoing communication allows them to actually digest what's happening. So if I get little spurts, like if I hear one story, I can consume that. But if you send me a newsletter with 12 stories of this girl and that guy, and he's doing this, and here's a picture of that, I will not, and I'm sorry, because I support a lot of missionaries, but I don't read them. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work for you guys to go through. And I know sometimes your sending organizations are like, or I mean, your like churches, they like those printouts because then they post them on the board and they pray for you and all that stuff. So, and do not catch me on this. I'm not saying stop them. I'm challenging you to think a little bit differently about how you actually deliver that information. So if you can communicate that in a short way. So Eric, when he reached out to me, Eric, how did you reach out to me?
Text.
Text, because that's how Eric and I communicate. He did not send me a large newsletter requesting my presence. Okay. So, so that's where, and I responded with text, and then he emailed me the login information to join you guys.
Which I wasn't sure you got it, so then I text you.
I know. So then you text me again. And I was like, oh, shoot. Am I in the right time zone? Okay. So, but communication. Look at over communication. You texted me, you emailed me, you texted me, so we were in communication because we like each other. So like when you start looking at your donor base and you're like, oh, like it's a burden, like, I got to sit down and write that newsletter, and I got to send that story, and which story am I going to tell? Like, you should be able in the back of your mind say, okay, I just had this scenario happen within the last week. It's fresh. Like, it's like it just happened. So this student engagement or this leader engagement just happened. So I can actually in an email send them like what I was feeling and what I was thinking and what they could be joining you in prayer with. So this is where I'm like going to dumb the whole thing down and say, just communicate with a few sentences once a week.
Wow.
Like, and every now and again, you might toss a picture in because the picture really correlates to the story, and you feel like, picture, I just need a picture.
So Mary, are you saying, so let's get down to a little specifics here. So are you saying that weekly communication is something that we should be doing because it's currently a pandemic, or this is something we should be doing on a regular basis, regardless of a pandemic?
Yes.
Okay.
Regardless of a pandemic. And because communication is a good thing. So, and it's just nice when people actually get to know your personality and they know that like you're working all year round. Because how many, like the elephant in the room question is, what does a college minister really do? Like, do you sit and hang out and, like you're always at parties and, Taco Tuesdays and, just doing the college life. You're a guy that just never grew up and like just wanted to stay in college for the rest of your life. Like, like what are your donors? Like, what are potential people saying? So your weekly communication is combating all those things that they're thinking in the back of their mind. But you're like, no, I'm more than a nice haircut. Like, I say that because one of the guys, he was always like making a big deal about his, like his looks. He was a good looking guy. So he never had any problems getting donors. And I was like, you are more than a nice haircut. Like you are changing, the lives of students. And so you want to change your image from being like, oh, I'm just a good kid or a good guy who's doing some, working on the campus to like, I'm actually really good at this and I'm leading students to the Lord and all that stuff. So yes, right now the reason why I think that it's really important to start during this time is just because people are hungry for communication. They're on social media, they are looking for different positive things that they can fill their time with if they're working from home or whatever. So that's where it's just like I think it's a great time to get started. Now, I'm not saying like if you normally send a quarterly newsletter and today I'm telling you to start sending a weekly a weekly email, that you're going to actually be consistent with it. So like, I don't want to set you up for success. I just want to tell you like, this is a great goal to work towards, is that like, is just sending like reminding yourself that your entire donor base and everybody who's on your email newsletter list, they're all humans just like you. They're all going through the same stuff. And so like when you send an email or you send a text or a Facebook message or an Instagram DM, whatever, you're basically saying like, I'm meeting you where you're at. Like I'm in the same boat. Like I care about you. And so a message that just says, hey, Eric, I was thinking about you this week. For some reason, God just placed you on my heart, and I've just been praying for you. Hope you're having a great week. Reach out if you need anything. They don't respond. Who cares? They're going to remember that you cared when most people didn't. So anyway, so that's where I just want to like, do not like, and please do not send a big, box of text that's just like vomits all these stories about what's going on with Chi Alpha. I'm talking about like normal communication, and people are like, well, what do I put in the subject line? I'm like, what do you put in the subject line when you send Eric a message or when you send a friend a message, So I just want to like, let's, get back to the humanity behind the
Okay.
communication.
So let me try to give a little different twist, because I got some folks who maybe have a number of supporters and they're thinking,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, how could I do that? So would this be considered more like touch points, and then maybe whatever your normal communication stuff is it okay to, like, for instance, if I do a monthly newsletter, is it okay to continue to do that, but I'm not waiting a whole month. I'm spattering little touch points throughout the weeks prior
Yep.
to my newsletter coming out.
Yep.
Would
So,
that be
okay. Yeah. So, Ronnie, you just said, I have about 200 supporters. How is that possible? How are you sending your newsletter out right now? So obviously the one I said, oh, hey, Eric, hope you're having a good week. I was thinking about you. Now that's a one-off. Like Eric was
right?
actually on my mind and I messaged him. I'm not sending that message to 200 people. Thank you for
Right.
the clarification on that. Like, no, you don't got time for that,
Right.
So no, this is like, you have it, like you wake up on a Monday morning or a Tuesday morning and you send out one message that shares one story that happened last week in the ministry.
Hmm.
And you send it off, and you don't think about it again. So it takes up a very short, amount of time. So for those of you guys, Eric mentioned that I podcast, every week. So my podcast, I record my podcast every Sunday, and I literally get on my microphone here. I get on my microphone for 30 minutes and I talk about one topic. And I really don't think about it all that much. I don't spend a ton of time. Like it's not like I'm doing a sermon or something. Like I just want to talk on one topic and give some really solid takeaways. And so I just sit down, I record it, it's done. I don't have to think about it again. So with your support raising, the more that you can automate this, process where it's like, think about how you guys do your week, normally you have your, every single week you meet with your small group at the same time. Every single week you're meeting with the large group at the same time. Every week you're meeting, like you've got your lunch at this time and this time, so it's like, it's consistent because you don't want to have to think about it. Like, oh shoot, what time are we meeting again this week? Oh, hey, where are we going again? And like, nobody's got time for that. So the more that you can just automate these touch points, like you said, Eric, the thing that I want you guys to realize is when it comes to fundraising and support raising, you have to connect with people a minimum of 7 times just to show your appreciation, just to thank them for their donation. So 7 times is a standard minimum. And so that's why I was like, clearly the weekly communication is way above and beyond. But if you're only doing a quarterly newsletter, I have no idea. Eric, if you sent me a message 4 times a year, I have no idea what you do. And then you're going to send me all this information in one sitting. So I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, oh, Eric's doing good work. And all right. And all it's doing is confirming that, sure, Eric's doing something and he told me he's doing something. Okay. But if you really want people engaged and actually increasing their donations and leaning in, actually praying for your ministry, telling people, referring other friends to you, you're going to have to do better. So that's where it's like, you're going to have to take it up a notch, so, and I'm always like, just ease into it. It's not that hard. I actually have there's a missionary in Southeast area who, he just started 3 weeks ago sending these weekly emails, and they're so good. I'm like, they're so good. And I was actually just texting him right before this, and I was like, you get bonus points for me for just being consistent. I'm like, because all I want to do is I want to see your name in my inbox, and I just want to know, gosh, they're doing good stuff. Because then in the back of my mind, when I get that pay raise, who I'm thinking about? Oh, he's doing good stuff.
Hmm.
I should increase my donation, or I should, who's on my mind? I think I'll do something over here. And then if your email then pops in their email box and it's like, just sharing the good word of what's happening, they're going to see that and be like, okay, this is something that I should be a part of, So I use Glenn Davis as an example too. He's out at Stanford. He sends out weekly emails to a lot of these guys are a part of my program that I run called Fully Funded Academy. And I teach how to write these emails. So it's like, literally you copy and paste other people's emails. Like you don't even have to come up with them. I'm all about copy and paste. Come on. But he sends them out every single week. And it's literally 3 prayer points and a couple praises. And all the praises are previous prayer points. So every single week I know what's happening. Like I know right now that he was on the phone talking to somebody internationally in one country, and his wife was on the phone talking to another student internationally. And their students are everywhere. So, but I know that because I get his email every single week letting me know. And you know what I feel every time I see his emails? I'm like, oh, just take my wallet. It's, you guys know how good Chi Alpha is. Like there's just, and that's why you all struggle with your newsletters, because there's too many good stories. Which one do you pick? And then I gotta tell them 20 stories when nobody can consume that. So anyway, all right, all that to be said.
Hey, so just clarification. Yeah. So the 7 touches or 7 times to show appreciation, is that 7 times in the course of a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Over the course of the year. Yeah. So that's when you do see them face to face and you have the ability to verbally say, thank you so much for what you guys are doing. We love you and appreciate you so much. So it might be face to face. It might be just a thank you card in the mail. It might be that Christmas, something or other, a gift that you send out. So over the course of the year, you kind of have these 7 touch points that you're recognizing their donation in some form or fashion.
So Mary, I know there's a few other things I think you want to say, but we are getting some questions already.
Oh yeah, no, those are my 3. So okay. Connect, ask for advice, and communicate. Those are my 3.
Well, before we get to these questions though, there's one thing, especially, okay, so can we do a little poll real quick? Yeah. I'm gonna
Did
do
I
a
just
poll.
Scare you all? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm going to do a poll. I'm launching a poll right now. This is anonymous. So if you've lost any monthly support so far, how much have you lost? If you've not lost anything, perfect. 10% or less, 20% or less, 30% or less, or over 30%, I guess is the question. And then the second question is your personal comfort level concerning support raising at this time. Probably should have started out with this little poll.
This is great.
Can you see this, Mary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
Hey, and then I really want you to talk about what people give to.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll get this Facebook question. Hey, you guys are doing great, by the way. 108, 109 people.
Love it. Yeah. And I hope I'm not, I'm not asking somebody to go from 4 to once a week in one sitting. So, but it's just more of this is gold standard. Gold standard would be more frequent communication with less pressure.
Well, more frequent with less information, correct?
Less information.
Because back in the day, newsletters were like epistles.
But think about back in the day, you only had mail communication.
Right.
I mean, that was the only form of communication. And today we have instant gratification, instant communication,
Right.
and our support raising hasn't caught up.
No, so true. Okay, so here we are, ended. We ended the poll. So, well, good. 44%, man. We ought to take a minute and praise the Lord. Uh, have not lost any support. 40%, about 10% or less. Um, and then 20% or less, 10%. And we got a few folks that have lost over 30. So we're going to praise the Lord for his faithfulness. We're going to pray for those that have lost that. And then comfort level. So we got about right about 20% people who are really cool.
Yeah.
So that's great. We've got 61% of you guys are a little bit anxious. We got some folks that are freaked out, and praise the Lord, no one is losing your mind. So that's good. That's good.
Hey,
Isn't that good?
that's great. Love
So,
it.
so Mary,
Mhm.
um, let's talk about what, here we are, pandemic, Chi Alpha, we should be able to tell our story.
Yeah.
It's how we tell our story. It's getting the audience to tell the story. But what are some keys? What is it that people want to hear, and what do they give to?
Okay. All right. So I get really tired when people say like nobody wants to give to operational expenses. Like they really love projects and these special things. And I was like, I mean, yes, the first initial gift, it's always nice when you have that special project that somebody's like, "Oh, you sent somebody on a mission trip." Like that feels good and you can just check it off the list and great. But I do want to say that people do want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Like we are wired that way. Okay. Like we all think about everything that you guys are a part of, like Chi Alpha, for instance. It's like you're a part of Chi Alpha because you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And it feels really good to be a part of it. And so, as you're inviting people in to be a part of your ministry, you have to make sure that they are a part of it. And so, what people want to give to is the things that they actually have a say in. They have a voice. So if you give them no ability to connect with students or to give advice or to share their gifts or their talents with your ministry, it it feels very transactional because it is. You give me money, I do the ministry, instead of we do the ministry and you are like the whole, like, look at scripture about the body of Christ. I mean, like, I have to remind people that I was like, they are a part of the body just like you are. It's just you're the voice. Like you're the one that has actual access to the students, but they are part of this just as much as you are. It's just that they are the wallet, like they're the back pocket, like, so, but you need all of that in order to do ministry well. And so if we start, like, I have to try and like kind of shake the old mindset out of you a little bit, in the fact that it's like I'm asking somebody to give to me, when I'm like, I just want to say, if we got out of our way, like if we actually got out of the way and reminded ourselves that it has nothing to do with us.
Hmm.
I mean, you are doing a job, like you're doing a job, like somebody hired you to do a job. And so you're fulfilling it, so you should get hired, or you should be given a fair wage for the work that's being done. Now, if you're not doing anything, that's a different story, but the thing is that like they are in this with you. And so I think, as far as like, what do people want to give to, right now, the three things that I'm seeing is, number one, the people are trying to take care of the most vulnerable. So the most vulnerable among us, you guys have a case for that. Who are the most vulnerable? Your students. Like some of them just went back into really bad home lives. They are vulnerable. They don't have access to their leader who was meeting with them weekly, praying over them and showing them that they don't have to live the life that they lived before. They're vulnerable right now. So how are you, like, how can I be a part of making sure that the vulnerable are taken care of? And so you're giving resources in order to make that happen. You are the resource to make sure that they're okay. And then the next part is maintaining, keeping your doors open. So the most vulnerable, then we're looking at how do we make sure that the doors stay open? So most of the time people, like what I'm hearing is that donors will reach out and say like, are you okay? Like, I just want to check in, make sure that you're financially okay. Eric just did it to all of you guys just now and said, okay, how are you doing? Like, where are we at on this? Because then he knows how he can best support you. He can bring somebody like myself in, like, so how can I help you to make sure that you're okay? So that's number two. And then the third is new opportunities. So this is the new these are the new and exciting things. So maybe it's that pay raise. Like, hey, maybe I wanted to increase my budget. Maybe I wanted to increase my double O account because I wanted, to go on that mission trip. And so, gosh, that sure would have been nice to go on that mission trip, but it's not keeping my doors open. Like, it's not keeping me on the mission field. So think about that. Like, the new opportunities are obviously not the priority for the conversations. The priority is make sure that you're that you're okay. Yeah. So I said the most vulnerable is number one, keeping your doors open. So operational expenses, just your normal, like your funds, your missionary budget, making sure that you don't get kicked off the mission field. Because if you don't raise the funds that you need, you can't do the work that you've been called to do. And therefore, the vulnerable are even more vulnerable. So that's bad, and then the third is new opportunities. So new mission trips and new opportunities that are coming up for the ministry. So let's just use Eric as an example. Like, Eric, if, you were doing like a major building campaign for the ministry, I'm working on building campaigns right now. Like, building campaigns are not a priority right now. Nobody's in the building. So I'm not going to talk about the building when that's not a priority right now. Your students, your staff, they're all dispersed. They're all, challenged with this season. So how can somebody best support Eric? Like, funding. Like, I mean, this is a great time for you to support the ministry, because that way we don't lose any of our missionaries. They all have, maybe it's buying access to Zoom for every one of your, leaders, to make sure that everybody has access to their students, because they're not going to be in the building. So you can see that the opportunities that you're presenting to people is like, hey, we're okay right now, but we don't know in the next 6 months. So like, we're making sure that our students, the most vulnerable, are being taken care of right now, and that we're ready, we're available to take care of them. So.
Well, good. Okay. Hey, so good. All right. So let's go back to talking about your kind of the weekly touches. Mm-hmm. Is it good to be something that's a little bit of variety, or go for the consistency? So like what you're talking about with Glenn Davis, yep. Glenn is Mr. Consistent.
Yeah.
So now, are you talking about his weekly email that he sends out, the end times, not the end times, you know what I'm talking about, the one where he puts bizarre stuff in the email? No? Oh, wow.
I'm on his donor list. You must be on like the crazy fun.
I'm on the crazy one. Well,
segment it out. We're in different segments.
But he does a weekly things that he found amusing, things that he found thoughtful, because the boy reads like nobody's business. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all right, so let's skip that. But Glenn is super consistent. So are you advocating weekly consistency of some sort? Number one. Number two, what about the Facebook world? Is utilizing Facebook, is that a good means of updating people as well? What would you say about that?
Yeah. Okay. So back to knowing, like, how do you like to communicate? Like, this is where I have to remind people of your own personality, the way that you engage with people. What do you like? So I personally, I like Facebook because I'm more social. So I like having the longer conversations. I like messaging people. It's, I like seeing the pictures and the videos and the kids and all that kind of stuff. Facebook is also the number one social media source for fundraising. So it's consistently on every single study that's being done, Facebook is at the top of the list. So I know you guys are all, for the most part, a younger generation that likes Instagram and whatever else is out there. So I don't even know if people are still doing Snapchat or any, and TikTok and whatever else is going on. But I just am like, Facebook is really the place to engage your donors. So, and I'm a huge advocate of creating private Facebook groups so that you do not spam out information about your ministry on your personal page. So that way you can keep your personal page very much about whatever it is that you want to share about your family or what you're eating or whatever else that entertains people. But your private Facebook group allows for you to give that insider scoop. It's people who are on your newsletter list, who are donating to your ministry. And that's where you can bring in a video with a student or a testimonial or any of that kind of stuff. But I'm looking at Facebook posts as being very similar to the posts that what you're sending out in your email. So if you send something out in email, you can copy and paste that and put it in your Facebook with the picture. So we're not creating a ton of extra work here. You mentioned about Glenn and he's Mr. Consistent, and yes, consistency I think is extremely important. Imagine if you guys went to a church that said, hey, sometimes we'll show up on Sundays, sometimes not. Or that your small groups met and you're like, well, we meet whenever we feel like it. It just doesn't get the same results. Okay. So, and I'm not saying you miss a week. Oh no, end of the world. No one cares. Okay. That's where I'm like, take the pressure off of you that it's like, hey, I sent 3 out of the 4 weekly emails. Awesome. Nobody is sitting at their computer waiting for your email. Okay. They're not going to be like, oh, you're a day late. Where are you? So I just want to relieve you of any sort of pressure on that. But consistency is really important. So if you just as to push yourself, if you were doing quarterly, maybe you move it to monthly. And if you're doing monthly and you feel like, man, I could really push it, and I think I could send out smaller snippets weekly, that'd be awesome. So, but I do think consistency is really important for any sort of relationship. If you want to build a relationship with anybody, if you don't show up for years, that is hard to, build that relationship back up again. So, yeah.
Cool. Hey, so if you guys have any questions, we're going to open things up at this point. People have already been typing them in. If you want to verbally ask, if you're not a typer, you can unmute yourself and ask that question. Let's go. Or you can type.
No, Cecil has a question.
Oh, where is he?
There you go.
As far as for your Facebook group, I know you just said you can leave your family personal stuff on your own page. Do you feel it's okay to share, like last week our daughters learned how to ride their bikes, and that's something I would love for my our donors to know about. So do you feel like that is something as well that you could share with donors, and not just ministry related things?
Sure. I think it's really important just to kind of go through the filter of put yourself in their shoes, and you look at your donor base and you say, gosh, there's a lot of people who do care about the growth of our kids and how they're serving in ministry with you. And so, yeah, I think that goes back to, what kind of message do you want to share with your donor base and the people that you want to be a part of this? If you do ministry as a family, then you want to present that family messaging, but I have to, I've been hard on missionaries in the past because sometimes maybe your spouse technically is in ministry with you because you are in ministry, you signed up for Chi Alpha, so by default they're helping too. But it doesn't necessarily mean that when it comes to the funds are going in your bank account and you are the one who's leading the ministry. That's where I want to get back to, let's not put a ton of family pictures on everything, because I'm not supporting your family, I'm supporting you, as the director. But I like that all that other stuff is happening. But yeah, and as a donor to ministry, I don't know if I'd get all that excited about your kid learning how to ride his bike. Like, I mean, I care. Like, I funded you because, like, I want to know what's happening with your students. You know,
Mary, it's like you just kicked somebody's dog.
Yeah.
no.
Well, I was gonna say, like, we are closer with a lot of our donors, and so I feel like that's something that they would kind of be okay with seeing. But yeah, I wouldn't just make my whole Facebook group just about my family.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
but okay, that's a really, great point though, because how, support raising has been trained in the past, right? So your first group of people that you reached out to is what? Your family and your closest friends, like those people who know you super well and are in relationship with you at that level. And that's where I'm challenging you a bit to be looking for donors, like, because you run out of those contacts very quickly, right? Like, you only have so many people in that inner circle. And then the number one question I get is, I ran out of contacts. Now what? Like, shoot, every missionary I have ever met, and when I ask them, are you fully funded? 60, 70%, 80% staled, like, done. And I was like, and then they're like, I can't get that last 20%, like, or 30% or whatever. And it's like, because you have only, you've only hit that inner circle. And so in my fundraising career, and by the way, I mean, I did my fundraising through the American Cancer Society, Special Olympics, the ALS Association. Okay. So I worked with national organizations. Never did I ever ask a family member to give. Never. Friends, family, like, why would I ever go ask them for money? Because they don't care about, I mean, just because I work there doesn't mean that they care about it, so that's the difference is that if you start to tweak your fundraising a little bit and you start to say, you know what, I'm going to go draw in people who actually care about our ministry and not whether we eat. Because a lot of people are funding you because they're like, oh, grandma's afraid that you're not going to get, like, are you all right? Like, here's a check. And it's like, I would rather see grandma's check show up in a Christmas card than in my 00 account or in my, like, giving.ag.org account. So that's just something to be thinking about depending on where you're going. So, and use the bike and all that stuff, send them, I don't know, our whole family's in a group feed. Like, our whole family is in a group text feed. Like, so that's stuff that I would post in those sort of mediums so that they were up to date. Now, if you're out hanging out with your kids and you post something and please do it. Like, I'm like, please, I'm not going to say not to, but back to go with your gut. Like, I'm just like, go with your gut on that one. So yeah.
Okay.
Gosh, I'm so mean. Eric, I'm so mean.
No. It was great. I love the look on your face. It's like, I really don't care about your kids. Wait, did I just say that? Am I being recorded? I am so sorry. No, I love your kids.
I love your students and that they're getting to know Jesus. That's why I gave you my cash. Okay, sorry. But everybody gives for different reasons. Go ahead.
Okay, so a couple of questions here. One is paid ads on Facebook. Have you ever heard of anyone doing that? Does it help enlarge your circle? And then also finding new donors, friends, supporters.
Yep. Okay. So, Facebook ads. I personally would not encourage a missionary to run a Facebook ad. Very different for the overall ministry. So if you're raising organizational support, so you're the one who's responsible for, hey, we're raising funds for buildings and operations and mission trips and like that kind of stuff. Totally different story, okay? But missionary support raising is so personal. It's so, you're not going to pick up some random person who gets an ad who says, man, I think I'll give some money to that missionary. Like, that's really not how support raising works. And so, and just so you guys know, the only way to do a Facebook ad is through a Facebook page, and Facebook pages get the worst traffic. So it is the worst place to post anything because Facebook wants your cash. So they want you to spend money on ads. So if like for me as a business, I've got a Facebook page because I want to run ads, but I don't post anything of any relevance over there. I mean, like, I post my podcast stuff every now and again, but everything is happening in my private Facebook groups and on my personal page because there is much more, like, And especially if you, if you don't put links, that is just something to remember, is if you put links in a Facebook post on your personal page, that will go nowhere either. If you post a YouTube video or a video, because Facebook does not want you leaving Facebook. So they're going to give you much more traction. So like if anybody looks on my page in the last 24 hours, I shared that I just opened up my brand new website yesterday. I did not post a link to my website. It was in the comment section. So I posted a picture.
Right.
Yeah. And so because otherwise 250 people would not have liked that post last night.
Mm.
But because the link was in the comment section, now all of a sudden it was showing up on everybody's feed. So that, what was the other question?
That was worth the price of admission right there. Thank you.
Right there. I know Facebook. Like, yeah. And it is, and those the private pages too, they value that, so if you put people in a private Facebook group, they're going to see everything, but they also have changed the private Facebook groups where they only see like some notifications. And so it automatically clicks on the like, oh, only see the popular posts. So when somebody joins a private page, I also encourage just to let them know, hey, go ahead and click the all posts. If you start to see too much stuff and it's overwhelming, feel free to change that setting. But if you don't change it, you're not going to see what we post in here. So you have to play, like you got to be proactive with giving people a heads up on that stuff.
Hey, that's another good tip. That's awesome. Hey, finding people, like, let's just say here's got missionaries that are just starting. Welcome to campus ministry. Oh, here's a pandemic. Hey, now go and raise some support.
Yes. Okay.
How do they find new people?
Okay. So back to the advice piece that I told you guys earlier. So this is where, especially if you are, pretty, new out of college too, you're younger, people kind of see you as like, little brother, little sister, like you can play that card all day long. Like everybody wants, to help you out. So that whole advice, and this is for everybody, is just asking somebody who is really doesn't have a problem with making friends. They're outgoing. They seem to be doing well in their business. They seem to be doing well in life. And those are the people that I'm going to put on my list. And I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to reach out to them and do that advice piece and just ask them, hey, I love your advice. I'm not asking for cash. I'm asking for advice, and we're going to get on a call or we're going to message back and forth. However you guys normally communicate, use the same piece of communicate. If you text them, text them. If you email them, like social media, so like, don't do anything weird. Cause then all of a sudden you get an email and somebody texts you normally and you're like, what's going on? Like, this is unusual that I got this email from you. And especially like, I just really want to encourage, do not bulk your messages. Like if you really genuinely want to have a conversation with somebody, do not send the same message to 10 people. Like take 2 extra seconds to put their name, say something that's personal, then say whatever you got to say, so it's just, relationships. It's important that they hear their name, and that they know that you're actually talking to them. And by the way, I'm so mean, but I when you do get a lot of messages and the people that you're trying to reach out to are busy people. So if they see something that looks like it was sent in bulk, they will ignore it, not because they don't love you. It's because they feel like you won't know that they ignored it. So it just lands in the back pile because they're like, they're not going to miss this. I'm just one of 100 people that they just messaged. So, and they can read that very quickly in a message like that. So yeah. So to get to that next circle, I'm always like, okay, there's a graphic that I use when I train, and it's like, so think about, there's like all these circles that are surrounding you. This is your inner circle, friends, family, church, anybody that just runs in your circle that you could pick up the phone to anytime and they'd be like, like, so glad you called, like those people. All your money is sitting right here. Like it is this person to that person. So you're 2 connections, so I got this connection and then the money is sitting over here. Okay. So in order to get that money, we're not asking, could you refer me to someone? Like that is, normal support raising talk. Like, do you know anybody who'd be interested in giving to ministry? And then they're like, no, like, I don't know anyone. Like they're not going to give you a great response. But here's how you get to that next person is you pay attention on their social media, in communication. You know them already because you've done life together before. So think about that family member, a sibling or whatever, and you're like, okay, they work at this company, they are friends with this person, they go to this church, they know these people, they know that pastor, they're friends with them. And so in your mind, you're just like, all their connections outward. And so when you ask that friend or family member that's in this circle, you're then saying, hey, I know you're friends with so-and-so. Like, I know that you go to this church and I would love for you to introduce me to this person. Like, do you think that that's possible? And then, we're in the pandemic. So no, we're not going to have coffee. No, we're not going to sit down and have that formal meeting. But what they're going to do is you're going to say, hey, could I send you a Zoom link? And the three of us just jump on a call in the next week or two. I would love for you just to introduce me and share a little bit about what's going on with the ministry. That'd be awesome. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting face to face with new people. And if the best way to do this is no expectations, zero expectations of what's going to come out of it. As soon as you're like, oh, so-and-so, they have so much money. If they would just give me, $200 a month, that would be awesome. And it's like, no, like the goal here is make more friends. Like get more people to know you, get more people to get on that frequent email list that, the email that you're going to send out every week so that they get to know you. So the number one goal then out of that meeting is, can I send you some updates on what's happening in the ministry? And now we're communicating with them weekly. And so that's where the relationship then starts to evolve. And when you send out that message, that's when they respond and say, oh, that's awesome that you're doing this. And then you can put out, hey, we're trying to raise money for X, but you're not asking for money every single week. You're asking for money every so often, like, when it's actually needed, not every time you talk to them. So then it feels, it's like a family member. I'll use one example, and I don't know how much time we have here, but one example is that I'm like, okay, you're driving your car on the highway. It breaks down. Okay. Your car is broken down. You're on the side of the road and you pick up the phone and you call your spouse, your friend, your mom, your roommate, whatever. You call them because you trust them that they're actually going to come get you, And so you pick up the phone and you call them and they're like, hey, I'm stuck on the side of the road. And they're like, where are you? I'm going to come get you. Right? Like that's their response. And that's what we want our donors to feel. So like when I'm stuck on the side of the road and I send them a message, they're going to be like, where are you? I'm sending you money. Like you need money for that mission trip, done. But you built that relationship with them, like your mom, your sibling, your, whatever, whoever's coming to get you, like you have invested in that relationship and you also would go pick them up if they were stuck on the side of the road. And so like, if you're not willing to help them accomplish whatever they want in their life, they're not going to want to necessarily lean in and help you. So, that's just something like reciprocity. Like that's how we all work. I help you, you help me. And so like, if we don't help them and we don't teach them or educate them or share why would they ever come get you on the side of the road? They wouldn't. They don't know you. They don't really care that much. And maybe they do. Maybe they love you, but they don't, like the ministry is just not their thing. That's why the rich uncle story all the time. I'm like, yeah, rich uncle, he's great and he has money and he loves you, but he doesn't know your ministry. So, and he's not invested. He hasn't had years of life transformation experiences coming his way. So the rich uncle might come around if he actually got communication from you more frequently and he chose to keep communication with you. Then he starts to see, okay, like I see what you're doing here. Like I could be a part of that, So anyway, so I think, it's just back to relationships 101. Like, yeah.
Well, would you say, okay, so like with the relationships and what you're talking about right now, so
Mhm.
you pretty much have it's donor development at every different level.
Yeah.
I mean, you've cultivated some relationships, just like you're saying, I can call that person, they will come on side of the road. However, in 3 years, Bob will potentially be that person.
Yeah. And you don't know what seeds you plant today that will show up in years to come. So, I mean, like I had somebody reach out to me in the last week who I had to go back into my email because I was like, oh, the last time I spoke to her was a year ago.
Hmm.
A year ago. But you know what? She's been getting my weekly emails every single week. So I don't feel like I've been necessarily like in the loop on her life, but she's been getting my weekly communication. And so to her, we're close. Like, like she's listening to what I'm putting out there. So you just never know when somebody will come back around and say, gosh, I saw you post about this and that's really exciting. And that stirred in my heart, so, and some people love, they're going to be interested in the monthly, but some people are like, I would rather just give you a check to go on that mission trip, or I'd rather, buy you an iPad that you could give away to your students at the next event that you do, so you just never know what they like. So then when you can, share that, I think that's really good. But yeah, the little, it's so weird. And I wish that I had like a perfect formula on social media and emails and all that stuff. But you guys know, sometimes you see something on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and you're like, like I need to do that. And you just click on it, or, hey, oh, that person, I haven't talked to them in forever. Oh, I got to do that. And they just became top of mind. And you don't understand why it happened. But I built a house a year ago, and I posted a picture of my house. And I talked about how I was at a fundraiser and I had just come home from this fundraiser and we're building this house. And I was like, man, there's so much progress that's happened on the house just since I've been gone. And I got a Facebook message that said, hey, do you help people build buildings? Like, do you help people fundraise for buildings? Like literally that became the largest client like in my personal history. Like they paid me 4 times more than what I was getting paid before. Like, I mean, it was like one of those, like a post about a picture of my house, like makes no sense, So, but that's where like, and Cecil, like if there's a picture of your bike and like, man, somebody could see that bike and be like, man, that bike is ratty. I'm going to send you bikes. Like, oh, okay. Like, great. Thanks for the bikes. So like, I don't get it sometimes. And you guys, I'm sure have experienced it yourselves over the years where like, somebody just gave me all this money for this random thing. Like, and then you say, thank you. But that's like the first, let's like, in donor development, it is like the first handshake. They want to do something where they feel instant gratification. And then they watch to see how you utilize the gift. Are you a good steward? And then that's when it evolves into larger gifts down the road.
Good stuff. Hey, so Mary, in your professional opinion, so we're going to do this once a week communication. What's the best day of the week to do that?
The best day is the day that you do it.
Okay.
The day that you are willing to do it. Okay. So I started doing my weekly emails on a Monday morning.
Okay.
And I only did it because I was like, if I don't do it first thing on Monday morning, it's not happening. Okay. So I made it just like a tithe, take it first, like, and that's why I also recorded my podcast on a Sunday, because I was like, Sunday, no distractions. I can get it done. I start the week and I'm winning. Okay. So, but I have since switched my email over to Tuesdays because I was like, oh, I don't want to start Monday. Like Monday's already a heavy day. And then, so I just but I did it for 2 years on a Monday. And then I moved it to a Tuesday because I was like, you know what? My life has changed. I want to do it on a Tuesday now. No one cares. Okay. So I switched it to a Tuesday and it's all good, so, and by the way, you guys can, on my new website, there is like a checklist and a workbook that you guys can download for free. And that will get you into my email list. So then you guys can get my weekly emails. And you can just see they're simple. They're so simple. You're going to be like, this is it. All right. Like, I am not great at writing, even though I did write a book. Like, I would much rather sit on my podcast all day, every day and just talk. And I think a lot of you guys are probably in that same boat where you're like, oh, give me a video, or maybe I can just talk to, like, but do what is like most authentic to you. I have, this is what everybody's teaching in the social media world. I went to a huge conference this last year on social media, and the whole deal was pick one. Pick one. You don't have to be everywhere. Pick one form of communication. You don't have to be everywhere. So it's just start with one thing, and that's how habits work, right? Like, you do one thing consistently, then you can, stack on the next thing. But the weekly communication, there's no magic day. I will tell you though, this is my little secret. More people give on Thursdays than any other day.
They give on Thursdays?
They give on Thursdays. They say yes.
Okay.
They say yes the most on Thursdays.
Thursday?
I don't know if that works during a pandemic, because every day is a Saturday. Like, I don't really know what people are living in right now, but in a normal week, Thursday is the best day, just because everybody's so hectic at the beginning of the week with their work. So like, you kind of don't want to like throw yourself in the middle of their chaos. And by Friday, they're all checked out. So like, I don't want to show up on a Friday. Now, if you have a lot of pastors, or you have people who work in ministry, I mean, like, they're slammed at the end of the week, right? Because they're preparing their message. So they take their days off at the beginning of the week. So, but do I want to send them an email on a Saturday or Sunday for them, which would be a Monday or Tuesday? So that's where you guys have to look at your donor base and just say like, okay, and then here's the other thing, just do it. It really, like, that's what people always say, oh, when should you post on social media? I'm like, whenever you'll do it. Like, I post in the mornings because that's when my brain is actually working. But some of you are night owls, and, night is the best time for you, and you feel much more creative at that time. Great. And you can set up those posts to go whenever you want. They don't have to post at midnight, even though you wrote it at midnight. Like, you can have it post in the morning. But I try and hit people in the morning, because people are funny about their social, like, they'll slide through and they'll scan stuff, and even in their emails, like, I want to be at the top of their email list right away in the morning, so they're actually processing things. So I don't want to be the thing that they're like, oh, there's another email from Mary, like, well, shove that over there, but I don't feel bad about open rates either. I think people obsess about open rates, and I'm like, I don't even look at them. I don't care. But if you're a data person and your statistics run, like, good on you. Like, people A/B testing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't got time for that. So execution, I'm all about action. Just do it, check it off the list, move on with your day, and don't overthink it.
Good. Hey, Mary, you have been extremely gracious and have given a lot of time. So we so appreciate that. Tell everybody, how can they be a part of Fully Funded Academy, and what are some of the things that you offer, that type of thing?
Sure. Okay. Like, I just launched my new website yesterday, so I have to like give you a little, so maryvalloni.com is pretty much where you can find everything about what I do. So on that page, if you click that get started button at the top, it'll just roll you right down to those 2 downloads that I mentioned to you guys. But if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, it says, that perfect, like, fundraising for individuals. That will link you right over into Fully Funded Academy. I've had some of you guys have already been a part of it in the past. I see Josh and Jason Bell were both part of the group. So, and then, like I said, there's quite a few Chi Alphans actually in there, so you will not be alone. And I love it because then you can actually, like I said, I'm all about don't reinvent the wheel. If somebody else is doing it, get on their list, copy and paste, change out your stuff, change out the stories. Like, if you see somebody who's doing it well, just, copy it. So, especially in Chi Alpha world, since you're all pretty much saying very similar things. So, but yeah, maryvalloni.com, my podcast is right there on there. And of course, my book, Fundraising Freedom, is on Amazon, but you can click to it all on my website. So, yay.
Mary, thank you so very, very, very much. Hey, appreciate all of you who have tuned in today. We'll try to put up the recording of this at some point on the Facebook group, South Central Chi Alpha staff. So we appreciate that. Mary, any last thoughts?
Well, I would actually love to pray for you guys if that's
Oh,
okay.
man, this is great.
Okay. All right. Well, Heavenly Father, Lord, we just want to praise you, God. Like, I praise you for the statistics that came through here, that we're not freaking out, Lord, but we just want to lean on you, Lord. You are doing something really incredible right now. And if we can just keep our eyes focused on what you're doing, God, I just think that we could see crazy numbers show up in our bank accounts. I just know, Lord, that you are prompting us every single day. You're showing each person who's here on this call and who's listening in exactly where to go and what to do. Lord, I just pray that we would get out of your way. I pray that we would be very aware of your voice. And Jesus, right now, I ask that you would start stirring in the hearts of the people that our team here knows, who is sitting at home thinking about wanting to be a part of something bigger than themselves, wanting to change lives, in a way that they've never seen before. Lord, I pray that they would see a message from one of our team members here and see that, man, here's an opportunity. And so, God, I just pray that the social media posts, the emails, the messages that go out, that they would fall on the most fertile soil, that people would be prompted to read them and like not even know why, and would be reaching out, wanting to pray and wanting to connect and hear more about what's going on. But God, I just pray that each member of the team would feel really a sense of empowerment to step out in a way that maybe they've never stepped out before, that they can put aside all the fears and anxieties that maybe they've had in the past and really start to be more authentically themselves and step out in ways that they just have never done before. And so, Lord, I'm grateful, man. Lord, I pray you bless every single person here for giving their lives to the call of Chi Alpha and wanting to desperately reconcile students to Christ. May their conversations with their students be so powerful and life transformational. And Lord, that you would bless these guys in ways that they've never seen before. We just love you, and we lean on you today and every day moving forward. In Jesus' name, amen.